Amazing. Awesome. So once again, thank you guys so much for attending this presentation to learn a little bit more about G Adventures and the beautiful destinations and the different styles of travel that we have as an organization. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see the presentation. Amazing. So thumbs up. Hope everybody can see that. We are recording, so that's fantastic. So I just wanted to have a quick agenda at the start of the presentation. I'll talk a little bit about travel safety and, in the age of COVID-19, our book with confidence policy, travel with confidence policy, talk about why we travel at G Adventures, the positive impacts and benefits that this industry and you can have just by going on a trip. I'll talk about how we travel at G. So what does it look like to be on a small group adventure travel tour? And then I'll talk about the where. So some of the destinations that are the most popular within our different travel styles, talk about the travel styles themselves, and we'll actually go to a couple destinations as we go through as well. And of course, time for questions at the end. So absolutely, I'll stop periodically throughout. And if you just want to unmute yourself, ask a question, absolutely go right ahead. If you'd like to put them in the chat box, I can read them at the end of the presentation as well. And so there we go. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary. I'm the G Adventures Global Purpose Specialist for Eastern Ontario as well as Alberta. I've been working at G Adventures for about 4 years now. I just moved to Ontario at the end of last year. And my role at G is to work really closely with our travel agent partners like Tier 1 and help you learn about what it is that G Adventures does and see if we're the type of travel organization that you feel could give you an amazing experience to go and see the world. So I'm going to try and get my clicker to advance the slide. There we go. So COVID-19. So this is the elephant in the room. I mean, absolutely, it's presented challenges and has impacted the way that everybody operates, from airlines to hotels to the vehicle suppliers that we use. But ultimately, at G Adventures, we are very lucky in the fact that there are a number of things that mean that we are able to mitigate risk relatively simply on our trips and feel that the way that we've been operating for decades is a way that allows us to operate safely for travelers, so that once the 2-week quarantine restrictions and the advisory against travel is withdrawn from the Canadian government, people will have that opportunity to travel, but more importantly, to travel safely when they want to go and see the world. So first off, we do realize that this is causing some, it changes very frequently. And so to help with the uncertainty around the situation, we have our book with confidence travel policy. So for booking trips between now and the end of the year, you have up to 14 days prior to make changes to your trip. If you're booking a trip that departs anytime next year, then you have the chance to make changes, cancel and rebook up to 30 days prior to your trip. So making sure that as things change, we're being a little bit more flexible. You also have our travel with confidence policy. So I'm going to speak to this in a little bit more detail. So travel with confidence is all the things that we're doing as an organization to ensure that we're able to mitigate risk and make changes that we need to on our trips so that you can travel safely around the world. And so prior to your trip, when you arrive, while you're on tour, before you go, we're making sure that we're taking all these steps into consideration to make sure that we are mitigating that risk. And like I mentioned, we're super lucky at G Adventures. We work as a small group travel operator. And so, that means that our groups, for the vast majority of cases, they max at 16. And so smaller is intrinsically safer. Our average group size is 10 to 12. And so a small group of like-minded people traveling through a destination and able to build in social distance, physical distancing, and all of the measures that you're used to taking at home to kind of protect yourself and mitigate risk of transmission, you're able to then do while you're traveling with us around the world. We do have My Own Room as an option as well on our tours. So for those people who are traveling solo, they have the chance to, room with another traveler at no cost, or if they'd like to, book the My Own Room option on those trips. And on our Travel with Confidence Plus trips, which I'll mention, you have the chance to do that at a reduced rate as well. Our CEOs are the core of what makes G Adventures what it is. So these are our tour guides on the ground. They are empowered to make decisions to ensure that they are ensuring the health and safety of our travelers and making sure that you guys are getting the best possible experience while you're in destination as well. And so they're there to set expectations, and also, I mean, usually to just talk about potential cultural differences in the destination that you're traveling to compared with, you know, how things work at home, but also can ensure that yes, you've got masks, that yes, you're able to keep physically distanced, that you know, we're providing hand sanitizer, that everybody is comfortable, and they're able to kind of lead everybody through those new changes that we're all getting used to here in Canada, and those things that you will also see while you're traveling around the world as well. So G, we also, I mean, again, we're lucky, we work with smaller suppliers. So, you know, we own a lot of our own vehicles. We can increase the cleaning regiments on those vehicles and ensure that there is more space on those vehicles as well, including our small ships around the world. You know, we have a lot of vessels that have 8, 10, 12, 16 passengers that allow you to get on the water safely. And again, inherently less risk with a smaller group of people. And again, because we own and operate those vessels, we can ensure that we've got rigorous cleaning protocols on those as well. And we work with smaller hotel suppliers. So you're not staying in gigantic hotels with, you know, 1,000 rooms. We work with smaller, locally owned and operated mom and pop style accommodations, again, which just makes it easier for us to work with those partners and ensure that they're meeting the cleanliness and levels of standards that we require based on this new reality that we're living in. And it's same thing when it comes to places to eat. We don't oversubscribe the number of meals that are included in our trips, because we want to ensure that people have the chance to go out to the local restaurants and experience food in that destination. And so it also means we can work with local suppliers. We're not, we've never done a lot of buffet style dinners. The idea is we can organize a private room in a restaurant in town, or we can go and find a place we can eat outside and make sure that everybody's comfortable and well fed through their journey. So just a few different things that we're ensuring that we're building into all of our trips. For the Travel with Confidence Plus collection, just over 35 trips around the world, we're able to take this to 11. And so with these specific 37 different itineraries, we're maximizing the group at 12. So having reduced group size on those Travel with Confidence Plus trips. Throughout these itineraries, it is only private vehicles that we're using. We're reducing the cost of my own room, and we're ensuring that all washroom facilities, all rooms have washroom facilities with them. And with some of our travel styles, like the 18 to 30 something travel style, you'll use shared shower blocks sometimes if it's an active trip, right? Or if you're staying at a local homestay. But within this Travel with Confidence, it's going to be just all rooms will have their own personal washroom facilities as well. So I hope this is just kind of, letting you know that there's a lot of things that we're doing as an organization to make sure that we're mitigating risk, but also that you can travel with confidence around the world, that the things that you're doing in your daily life here, you will also be able to do, and you will see people doing in destinations around the world as we all work together to fight against the transmission of COVID-19, but to continue to live our lives the way we want to and enjoy this privilege that is travel, to go to experience the world and learn from the different peoples and cultures that we have the opportunity to see while we're traveling. So, I mean, this speaks very closely to the why we travel at G Adventures. I always talk to this in presentations, when I'm talking to our agency partners, when I'm talking to clients as well. And so at G Adventures, I mean, yes, we are a Canadian company. We were founded by this guy, Bruce Poon-Tip. And the idea behind G is that just by going on vacation, you can have a positive impact. The travel industry is a fantastic mechanism for wealth distribution. The travel industry takes some of the wealthiest people in the wealthiest countries in the world to visit some of the poorest people in the poorest countries in the world. So why can't more of the money that you spend on your trip, that you invest in travel, why can't more of that money stay in local destinations, stay in the local economy, and help improve the lives of the people in those places? For developing nations as well as developed nations, it's important that that local people are benefiting from having travelers visit that place. And so at G, we believe that travel and tourism will save the world, that it is this fantastic mechanism. And not only are you contributing economically, but it allows that transfer of ideas, this cultural immersion, the opportunity to see what life is like for people in a different destination, and learn more about your place in the world, and also about the amazing diversity of the different peoples and ways of life around the world as well. So ultimately at G Adventures, there are a lot of things we do in the background to ensure that just by going on a trip, you're having a positive impact and we're mitigating any potential unintended negative consequences. So the Ripple score is a metric that we launched about 2 years ago now. It's you'll see it on all of our G-Adventures, or the vast majority of G-Adventures trips, a number out of 100 that shows you the percentage of in-trip costs that are staying in that destination. So we worked with a third-party organization. They audited our entire supply chain and let us know through this metric how much of the money that you're spending with us for those in-trip costs is staying in that destination. We also have our responsible travel policies and Planetara, ways that we're being proactive in ensuring that we're mitigating potential negative consequences and ensuring that you're having a positive impact. So our animal welfare policy, no way of interacting with wildlife on any G-Adventures trip that could lead to negative outcomes for that those animals. No elephant rides, no tiger temples, no shark baiting and diving on any G-Adventures trip. We have our child welfare policy as well. Sorry, our policy on working responsibly with Indigenous communities. We work with a lot of rural, remote, and Indigenous peoples around the world, including right here in Canada, in BC. And so the goal is to ensure that we're set up in a way where travelers can go and learn from these traditional and Indigenous cultures and allow them to tell their stories in their way, so that we're not in any way impacting their culture. There's a lot of talk about over-tourism, at least in 2019, and before that there was this idea of, hundreds of thousands, millions of people in certain destinations having unintended negative consequences. Over-tourism and mass tourism can also be with, a bus of 30, 50, 60 people arriving in a village of 30, 40, 50 people every day. So our goal is to ensure that we're working with those communities, that our groups are not having any unintended negative consequences. We have our child welfare policy as well. G-Adventures was the first international travel company to be certified as child safe by the Child Safe Movement. No way of interacting with youth, especially at-risk youth, that can in any way lead to unintended negative consequences for those kids. So it's extremely important, and we take these policies as opportunities for us to lead that conversation within the industry and make sure that we're taking those responsibilities and our impact as an operator seriously and working towards best practices. So Planetara is the non-profit organization within G-Adventures. Terra is actually Bruce's daughter's name. And this idea that they are able to reach out to local organizations, business owners, communities, provide seed funding for them to set up businesses that allow them to tap into the tourist economy. It's the way that we're ensuring that moving forward, the positive impacts that our travelers are having, seeing the world, and the economic impacts they're having are self-sustaining, and that local people can found their own businesses and set up their own ways of ensuring that they're benefiting from having travelers visit. There is a ton I could talk about Planetara. If you want more information on the 85 plus projects that we have globally, that we've worked in partnership with different organizations around the world to set up in different communities, planetara.org is a fantastic website and resource for you to learn more about all the work that just by going on a trip, you're helping to support these local communities and businesses globally. So that's the why behind the reason we travel. I mean, G-Adventures, we have become the world's largest community-based adventure travel company. And so for us, I mean, it just shows that, doing the right thing and doing the profitable thing, these aren't mutually exclusive ideas, that you can have both. You can have a travel company set up to ensure that local people are benefiting. And by being a for-profit model, it ensures that those local people are also building businesses that are self-sustaining over time. And that adventure travel, I'll talk a bit about adventure travel, is, it's not just the hard adventure. It's helping to take some of those misconceptions about what adventure travel is out of the industry as well, by showing people you can go into small communities, you can learn about the different ways of life that these people enjoy all across the world, and it's safe to do so, it's comfortable to do so, and you can do it in many different ways. And so, how we travel at G-Adventures is a little different to the way that a lot of other companies operate. And so we do have small groups. They max at 16 people in the vast majority of cases. The same with our marine itineraries. The vast majority of our vessels are 16 people or less on those vessels. And it just provides a different way of seeing a destination. It's not on the bus, off the bus, on the bus, off the bus. You're not waiting for a lot of time for everybody to get their things together. You're not filling up a destination when you get there, right? That local market, that historic site, that temple, whatever it happens to be. And you're connected as a group. You have your local guide, your CEO, who's leading you through that destination. And, you know, you can wander at your own pace, explore at your own pace, but have that local guide there to help provide you with information that, you know, you can walk around and look around versus looking at your guidebook or looking at your phone. You can listen to the person who spent their entire life in that destination show you their backyard while you're traveling, and you're doing so with a very small group of like-minded travelers from all over the world. So we do have a broad appeal across different demographics. I'll talk more about psychographics, but demographics is questions we get often as well. The way I break down this beautiful pie chart is about 1/3 of our travelers are millennials, and about 2/3 of our travelers are not millennials. So more travelers in their 40s, 50s, 60s, increasingly in their 70s with our National Geographic travel style, traveling with us around the world and learning about the different peoples and places through these culturally immersive trips. And then adventure travel really is just about finding out your comfort zone and pushing it just a tiny, tiny bit. You don't have to be sweating. You don't have to be going up a mountain. You don't have to be carrying a backpack to enjoy adventure travel. It's about cultural immersion, learning what life is like for the people in the place, you know, going to a local restaurant and trying that food that maybe you've had and enjoy in Canada, but want to try it in the destination, and maybe try it from a street vendor. Versus, you know, being in a sit-down restaurant. It's about working together to create shared experiences and engage with local people. And that's where the adventure is. It's in trying the food. It's in having the conversations with the people in destination. It's about learning about their way of life. It's not necessarily, you know, the adrenaline rush or the bungee jumping, although we do have that as well. And I'll speak to our active travel style. And you know, because of this, the way that that broad appeal that we have and the nature of adventure travel, we don't break our trips down by destination. We break it down by style of travel. So the psychographics of the traveler. What is it that you want to do when you're traveling? What kind of a person are you? You know, are you traveling for the food? Are you traveling for the specific destination? You know, how do you want to go and see the world? And throughout our travel styles, every travel style has the whole world in it. So I'll talk in more detail about our classic travel style. It's the vast majority of what we do. It's a balance between included activities and free time. Again, not that on the bus, off the bus. You're in a different destination. You're going to want to explore a little bit on your own. Our 18 to 30 something travel style, on a budget, you know, staying in hostels versus hotels, wanting to have a maximum amount of freedom and, you know, travel with people within that age range. Our National Geographic Journeys travel style, which I'll speak to in more detail as well, upgraded accommodation, more inclusions, more educational content on those trips. With active, the clue is in the title, people who want to spend time outdoors, right? More multi-day hiking, biking, kayaking trips, you know, a focus around being outside and enjoying that destination from paddleboard or a bike or hiking through the region versus transferring around through different means of transport. Our marine travel style, everything on the water with G. Small ships, riverboats, our G Expedition vessel that goes to Antarctica, the wellness trips, the local living trips, rail, Nat Geo family. I'll cover as much of this as I can in the time that we have, but absolutely speak to your tier 1 travel advisor. They are an amazing resource to delve in to these different travel styles because every single one has the whole world in it. Find out, you know, what you want to get and how you want to see the world, and then discover whatever part of the world it is that you want to go to through that travel style. But I will do a bit of a deep dive and we'll travel to a couple destinations because we've all been stuck at home for far too long. So our classic travel style is, yeah, as I mentioned, it's hotel, not hostel in the vast majority of cases. It's going to be clean, comfortable, locally owned and centrally located properties so that you are where you want to be. So when you check into your hotel, you can get out, you can get on the street, you can go to the market, you know, you're in the place that you want to be in that destination. And then, you know, you've got that free time to explore, but you're also going to have guided tours and walking tours of the city center, of the local markets. You're going to, you know, go to the historic sites. So it's that balance. Again, average 10 to 12 people, and it's good for all ages. So travel is 12 and up for the vast majority of cases for our classic travel styles. We do have a family style of trip that I'll talk about at the end of this as well. But that focus on cultural immersion and enjoying and learning more about the people and destination, and also the people that you're traveling with as well. So I put up a few of our most popular regions and destinations. So absolutely, you know, Vietnam, traveling through that region, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, an area of core competency for G. The same for North Africa and the Middle East, you know, Morocco, Egypt, Jordan, Israel, Costa Rica, Central and South America. Again, we have a lot of itineraries in this region, as well as European itineraries. And I just had to throw Iceland in there because, again, a place that has worked extremely well and hard in mitigating transmission, and a place that's seen robust demand. And so I wish I could talk at length about all of these destinations. They all have their own unique cultural influences and reasons why you absolutely would really love the time you spent there. From being in Morocco, you know, seeing the desert, meeting the camels, going to the souks and the markets, learning about that way of life, sipping tea on a hot day outside of the, you know, the market as well, and watching life go by. You know, going to Costa Rica, meeting the baby sloths, getting into the humidity of the jungle, you know, lying in the hot springs of the national park while you're there in La Fortuna and Ariel National Park. Spending some time on the beach, maybe doing a surfing lesson if you want, or some stand-up paddleboarding when you're in San Antonio Manuel National Park. Traveling to Iceland, seeing the outstanding natural beauty of that destination, you know, doing a full circumnavigation of the island, seeing the amazing geological structures that are there. The one I'm going to talk a little bit more about is Vietnam. I had the very great good fortune to travel to Vietnam at the end of last year. And did a trip very, very similar to this. Flying into Hanoi, seeing the hustle and bustle of that destination, of, you know, the hotels that we use, the properties we use are right in the French Quarter. You're very close to the beautiful Emerald Lake that's in the center of that quarter. Able to, you know, take a short walk, 10 minutes, go through the streets to the Temple of Literature, and kind of, you know, experience what's that looks like in this culture, to travel through the back roads, the markets, or maybe find yourself a rooftop to have a cocktail on and watch the world go by as well from above the city. Hanoi is, you know, it's that first day. It's that, oh my God, I'm not in Canada anymore. And that chance to go and explore with the people of your group and with your local guide as well, and get comfortable being in that destination. And of course, the food in Vietnam is spectacular. Travel to Ha Long Bay, get on your junk boat, and it's extremely comfortable. And again, the food is amazing with the providers that we use for these junk boats. Marvel at the wonder of the limestone casts. You know, go through the caves. Have the chance to go kayaking if you want while you're in this destination, or just spend your time on the vessel, enjoying the wind in your hair as you, you know, go through Ha Long Bay. Travel to Hue. We fly you down to Hue on certain trips, you know, or we take the overnight train. Learn about the imperial city, learn a little bit about the conflict in the region, what's known as the American War there, and the impact that had on the ancient citadel of Hue. Visit Hoi An, which has been one of the economic engines and drivers of the textile industry globally. Go and have some clothes made while you're there. I did. We spend a couple days in Hoi An, so you can go and look at the old city. You know, travel to the countryside just outside and meet the oldest resident of Vietnam. You know, and it's just, it's such a wonderful place to relax and immerse yourself in a totally different way of life. And I think I've mentioned the food, but you will never be able to find a bad meal in Vietnam. I don't think it's possible. And then we finish these journeys up in Ho Chi Minh City. You could be in Rio de Janeiro, you could be in Toronto, you could be in Singapore, you could be in any major commercial hub when you're in Ho Chi Minh City. You know, it's a real difference between the culture in the north of the region, traveling to the center part of the country and more of a, almost like a resort style vibe. And then you get into Ho Chi Minh City, and yeah, like I said, it's London, but in Asia. It's crazy. It's Vietnam has been one of the fastest growing economies in the world for the last 20 years since they revolutionized and opened up their economy and kind of moved away from a communist ideology with economics. From here, you also travel out to the Cu Chi tunnels, learn about that unique battlefield in the American War, the Vietnam War, and gain perspective on the struggles that the people of this nation have had in the past, and learn about you know, the success that they've made at the present. It really is a beautiful place to go. The best time to go to Vietnam is when it's cold here, which is even better. So if you're looking at trips for January, February, March, 2021, 2022, a really amazing destination to see, and also a place that has done an extremely good job in mitigating the transmission of COVID-19 and putting in place right across the country measures that will help to ensure that they continue to fight this virus and you know, yeah, and continue to live their lives and enjoy the hard-won successes that they've had over the decades. So that's a quick introduction to Classic. It's a quick introduction to Vietnam. Wanted to talk a little bit about our active travel styles as well. I should pause for a second. If anybody wants to unmute themselves, if you want to ask me a question about the why, the how, the what of G, the things that we're doing about our classic travel style, please go right ahead. Unmute yourself, and I'm here to answer any quick questions before I progress into our next travel style.
Hi, Gary. Is it possible that some people aren't able to get in because they tried late, or because I've had a couple people message me?
Oh, okay. 1 second. What I'm going to do is, so when I'm not sharing my screen, or when I am sharing my screen, I can't see the entrance. Let me see. Oh yeah, here we go. Hold the meeting. There we go. Okay, for those people who were outside in the waiting room who are just joining now, there we go, we've got audio. Cool, you're in. Thank you very much for pausing me and helping a couple more people join the presentation. I'll just wait till, yeah, Laura Lee, awesome. Okay, good. Any questions about, and I am recording this, so you will be able to look back if you've just joined us. Then, yeah, the first part's recorded, and I'll continue record from here as well. Any questions about anything that I've covered so far? Amazing. There's the chat box as well. You can ask questions in the chat box as well if you want me to come back to them at the end of the presentation too. Amazing. Cool. Awesome. Back to our active travel style. So when you think of adventure travel, often this is what people think of. They think of hiking mountains, you know, carrying backpacks and doing that hard adventure. And we do excel at this type of travel. So again, the vast majority of our groups max at 16. Cool. Yeah, vast majority of our groups max at 16. And then, you know, I'll talk mostly about our hiking trips, but we have cycling and multi-sport trips as well. Not all of these trips are extremely difficult. All of our trips will have a rating of between 1 and 5. All of our active trips will have a rating between 3 and 5 as far as the physical activity. So 3 is moderate. It's a moderate amount of activity. It means that you're going to be up and about most days. Usually every other day we try and build something in that's going to be you know, kayaking or hiking, but we do have rest days often with these trips as well. The goal is to give people the opportunity to spend time outdoors and experience destinations around the world in a more active way, and potentially continue the active lifestyle that they live at home. I mean, in Alberta, we have a lot of hikers, we have a lot of kayakers and bikers. We have a lot of people who really love the beautiful outdoors that we have in Alberta. And so that chance to go and enjoy landscapes and destinations and trips in other parts of the world as well. So as far as destinations, again, the whole world is covered in this. I could have put in Patagonia. I could have talked about hiking in Nepal or Bhutan. I wanted to cover the places that we have the most travelers traveling to with us. I mean, the Camino de Santiago is in here as well in Spain. Peru is one of the top destinations for travelers with G Adventures. We are the largest operator on the Inca Trail. We're recognized as the best operator on the Inca Trail by the Ministry of Tourism in Cusco, and they are the people you needed to impress. And it is doubly difficult to be the biggest and the best. So we are proud of the relationships that we've built with the indigenous people, the Quechua people of Peru in the Sacred Valley. You know, I'll talk a bit more about Peru in a second. if you want to travel to Everest Base Camp and hike to, from Kathmandu to Lhakar, and then hike to the base camp of Everest, there's a 15-day journey. We can take you there, and we can do so safely. If you want to hike in Europe and travel around the Mont Blanc Massif, we have 2 different itineraries. This is the easier one. It's a level 3. It's a day of hiking, a day of rest, a day of hiking, a day of rest. We drive you from Chamonix to Courmayeur. And so, again, the real highlight of this is yes, the beautiful landscapes of hiking in this region, but you're also on the border between France, Switzerland, and Italy, and that's where all the best food in Europe is. And so the great joy of being able to spend a day, 15, 20 kilometers a day of hiking, come back to your refuge or the accommodation, and then have a really fantastic, delicious meal while you're there as well. To trek Mount Kilimanjaro. I mean, a lot of these active hiking trips, it really is those once in a lifetime type destinations where you're able to train and then go and have that once in a lifetime experience. We operate multiple different routes. The Lemosho route is what we recommend with hiking Mount Kilimanjaro is take a little bit more time, because then the elevation grade is lower. You're not going right to the top of the mountain. And so these vary from 5-day to 8-day to 11-day journeys. So there's a number of different routes you can pick. We work with the local guides there. We have local porters who will help you get up that mountain. And it's one of those ways where being part of a small group really helps everybody to wake up, to get motivated, and to push through to making that trek. And of course, a lot of people will also add on safaris in Tanzania, safaris in Kenya to their trek as well. But I'll talk a little bit about Peru, so we can travel to Peru and learn what it's like to visit the region with G Adventures. I'm sure you all know this place. It's not one of the 7 wonders of the world for no reason. Inca did pick a beautiful site for their citadel, and it is often the main draw to get people. It's the reason why people want to go to Peru, but it's only one of many highlights of traveling to the region. And so when you travel down to Lima, you'll arrive in Lima. Lima is an amazing city. Again, a city of almost 9 million people, amazing views. We stay in Miraflores. It's where the hotels are, the boutique and smaller hotels that we use. You're right near the Malecón, which is where that center picture is taken, and the top picture, beautiful surfing in Lima. You can stroll the promenade. You can jump in a cab or a Lyft or an Uber and get into the center of Lima and experience the beautiful cathedrals that they have there and the catacombs. Explore the older pre-colonial, pre-Inca civilizations, the early settlements of the region as well. That picture on the right, the brick mud pyramids that were the homes of the early settlers in the region as well, and learn about their way of life, which is fascinating. Travel to Cusco, visit the Sacred Valley, experience altitude for potentially the first time, like real altitude, 3,500 meters up. Again, explore the navel of the universe for the Incan Empire. See the cathedrals that were built on top of the pre-Incan monolithic stone temples that were there, and learn about the history of the conquistadors and of the Incas. To travel to Urubamba and see the beautiful landscape of the Sacred Valley, to meet the people who live there, to visit the Women's Weaving Co-op and learn about the textiles that they manufacture that you'll see behind me, where they source the wool, how they wash the wool and dye the wool and spin the wool. This is where they get the wool from. Meet the llamas and the alpacas, and meet the people who have been passing down the patterns of Inca civilization and pre-Incan civilizations from mother to daughter for generations. And just by going and visiting this place, being able to ensure that that cultural transmission is continuing and that the people continue to be able to live that way of life. And that way of life is improved through having travelers coming and learning about it and sharing in that culture. Potentially think about hiking in the region. The Inca Trail is pretty well known. The Lares Trek, is another great hiking option in the region. I could talk about Choqquequirao hike for those who want to get into the nitty gritty of hiking in the Sacred Valley, or take the train. We are recognized as the best operator on the Inca Trail as well for those travelers who are looking to hike in the region. And it is indicative of all of our operations there. You know, we are a trekking company in Peru, but you can take a train. There are lots of benefits to taking the train to Machu Picchu, the chance to spend more time in the Sacred Valley, visit places like Marai and Las Salinas, you know, the Incan laboratories, to spend more time in Cusco, exploring that amazing city and town as well. And then, of course, all roads lead to Machu Picchu when you're in Peru, and have the chance to have a guided tour from our expert CEOs and on our National Geographic Journeys trips, you know, external experts as well, to really learn about what the people who created this place and the legacy that they've left as well. So that's a quick introduction to our active trips. I wanted to speak briefly to local living as well. This is a little bit closer to home. We have a number of different local living trips around the world, and it's really just taking that opportunity to be immersed in that culture of that place for a longer period of time. You'll see from a lot of the trips, you're kind of traveling around a destination. With our local living, you're staying in one spot, you're staying in that agriturismo, you're staying in that, yeah, the local home of the people who are working that farm in that region, and you're unpacking once, settling in, relaxing. And I couldn't go into detail of any of these because they all are extremely beautiful, be it the local living that we have, the converted 17th century monastery that we work with in Amalfi, the lemon farm that you stay at when you're visiting Sorrento, and you can learn to make limoncello. You can, you know, go and sit in the lemon fields and just breathe in the heady aroma while looking out to the Mediterranean Sea, and explore the tiny little villages with your CEO and learn what life is like, and slow down and relax into that, yeah, that southern Italian way of life, and yeah, live like the Romans did centuries ago. Visit Croatia, an extremely popular destination. Stay in a local villa just outside of Dubrovnik. Bike through the vineyards, taste the grappa, have a cooking class with the owners of the property, and learn about where the fruits and vegetables and food that you're eating is coming from. Take a swim in the Mediterranean. I mean, these are extremely comfortable, yeah, just wonderful destinations and places to go and visit. We do also offer more off the beaten track local living opportunities, like the Amazon jungle visit. This is one of the first itineraries we ever created as an organization. Bruce flew down to Ecuador and you know, met with the people who still host our travelers today, and learn what life is like for the people of the Amazon jungle in Ecuador. So different types of local living for different types of traveler. The ones I speak to most frequently are Amalfi and Sorrento in Italy, and the Croatia local living as well in the Balkans. I couldn't do an in-depth dive on all of our different itineraries. I hope that's a good introduction to local living, and again, just another way of seeing the world with G Adventures, and doing so in a comfortable way. I wanted to highlight our marine itineraries. A lot of people love to travel on the water. There are intrinsic benefits in having fewer people on a vessel, especially in the age of COVID-19. And so the opportunity to sail through the Galapagos Islands on vessels that max at 16, to sail on small ships of 8 to 12 to 16 passenger catamarans around the world, our small riverboats between 22 and 28 passengers, and the G Expedition, which is the crown and the jewel of G Adventures marine itineraries. She is a larger vessel. It's 120 passengers, cruising to you know, some of the most remote parts of the planet, the Antarctic and the Arctic. So the Galapagos Islands, an extremely popular destination, you know, a place that wildlife is the major draw, and the opportunity to travel, to see the blue-footed boobies, to swim with the sea lions, to learn about the giant tortoises from the local experts there who are guiding our trips, and to stay on a varying different types of vessel based on your needs. So the Reina Silva Voyager, she's brand new. I don't actually have pictures of her built yet because she's in the process of being built. This is going to be the most upgraded accommodation G Adventures has as an organization on a vessel. Solo cabins with balconies. There's a jacuzzi on the front deck. Amazing food, and because it's a catamaran, a stable way to travel through the Galapagos Islands with a maximum of 16 passengers, even though she'll sleep more than 20. We will only ever have 16 people on there. And then, you know, the chance to, to get off the vessel, to spend as much time in the water as you are on the vessel. We have the Yolita, another upgraded vessel that we're operating and have done for a number of years. Communal space on the top, the ability to walk around the entire outside, so the chance to be in the fresh air as much as possible. And then, you know, we do have internal inside communal areas as well as dining, but we can also have dining outside, and all the food is freshly prepared on board. And so just an opportunity to see these islands with a really small group of people. Traveling with a group of 16 is very different to traveling with a group of 50, 100 or more. And so just an opportunity to visit one of the most ecologically sensitive and beautiful parts of the world, and to do so in a way that you're, again, you know, loading, having a couple of our inflatable dinghies, travel onto the island, or snorkeling in a small group of 10 to 16 people. I mean, just lots of opportunity to explore and do so in a, in a way that you're not having a larger impact and being with a larger group of people. So we do have small ships that operate. Again, we've got 21 small ships that operate around the world. I love Thailand. I love talking about Thailand. Again, a destination that is hot and sunny when it is cold and wintry here. The chance to be on a vessel of 16 people, to cruise throughout the islands, to have your food cooked on board by a professional chef, to get to know the people that you're traveling with, but also spend a lot of time sailing through the islands and learning about the people and the destinations that you're seeing as well. And of course, relax. Unwind, enjoy a vacation that you don't need a vacation from when you get back. The same for our Cuba sailing. You know, I love talking about Cuba. The trips that we have in Cuba are very different to the experience that many people get when they go to Cuba, or assume that they'll see when they get there. So the chance to travel out of Havana, to board our 16-passenger catamaran, to sail through the archipelago, to visit a turtle sanctuary and release a turtle back onto the reef after it's been rehabilitated in that sanctuary, to visit beaches and communities that are well off the beaten path, and to enjoy limited cell phone reception. You will not be checking your emails. You will not be checking your cell phone while you're in the south of Cuba, to enjoy the amazing hospitality of the Cuban people, the amazing culture, the music, the food, which is fantastic, freshly caught fish out of the ocean, prepared by your chef on board, and of course the rum as well, if that's you know, something that you enjoy while you're in the region too. And finally, for our marine travel style, the G-Expedition. So the opportunity to travel to one of the most remote and, again, ecologically sensitive parts of the world with a team of experts. This is a learning journey, the chance to learn about the human history of the region, but also the geological history, the birds, the wildlife, the marine biology, to get into smaller places with a smaller vessel, to get off of the vessel. We have excursions twice a day, every day on the G-Expedition. You will be off that vessel, you will be on to the continent, weather permitting, and you know, learning about the wildlife and meeting the penguins and engaging with the animals there. Various different cabin varieties and cabin types, varying from the extremely roomy Category 5 master suites at the top of the vessel, to our quad chair suites that are available as well. The goal being that no matter what your price point is, you have the ability to travel to this region. We want to have that chance for like-minded travelers to go and see the destination. And of course, you know, numerous different new safety protocols that we're bringing into operating that vessel as well. Talk to your local travel advisor, to your Tier 1 agent, about more information if you're looking to go to Antarctica and marvel at some of the most spectacular landscapes on the face of the earth, and visit the last pristine wilderness, you know, on the planet as well. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in, to learning about some of our travel styles. I'm going to finish with a couple that are very close to my heart, and we've seen real, you know, real positive uptick in Canada on people wanting to travel in this style. So working with National Geographic, they approached G-Adventures about 5 years ago now, wanting to work with an organization that is very similar to them. So we're a social enterprise, they are a social enterprise. We want to help people learn and explore the world, and National Geographic has been committed to that opportunity of bringing the world to people's living rooms for generations. And so the opportunity for G Adventures to have a more comfortable way of seeing the world. So with our National Geographic Journeys, it's upgraded accommodation, it's 3 to 4 star hotels globally. You're going to have a slower pace of travel. There's more inclusions. You're pulling your wallet out less, more educational content provided. And the real value add on these trips is the access that we have to their experts in the field. So the chance to talk to National Geographic archaeologists, botanists, researchers while you're in destination. So again, some extremely popular destinations, visit Jordan, go to Petra and learn from the National Geographic archaeologist who is working at Petra about that site. And the most recent publications that have come out based on the new satellite data that they've got, extremely interesting to listen to these National Geographic experts talk about what they do. Our CEOs, our local guides are extremely knowledgeable, but with these Nat Geo trips, we're able to build in expertise from other quarters, increasingly, researchers in the field. Travel to somewhere a little bit closer to home, visit Belize, a destination that has a lot of flights historically from Canada, and also a destination where everybody speaks English as their first language. Visit the amazing ancient ruins of the region, visit San Ignacio, Burrell Boom, and also spend time on the second largest barrier reef on the planet when you go to Caye Caulker and spend some time relaxing off the coast. We've spoken at depth about exploring Machu Picchu and spending time in Peru with G Adventures. On our National Geographic Journeys trip, you have more educational content, additional subject matter experts with you. I've taken one of our trips in the region, and almost everything that I know about Peru and the Inca, I learned from our local guides and our National Geographic Journeys expert as well. And another region that we have a lot of trips in as a core area of competency for G is Sub-Saharan Africa. So to do those bucket list trips to see the wildlife of Kenya and Tanzania, of South Africa, of Botswana, of Rwanda and Uganda, to see the gorillas, to travel to that region. These opportunities are still available to us. We just have to work to mitigate risk, both for ourselves, but also for the people in those destinations. It's something that we're ensuring that we're able to do as an operator, so that you can go, you can see the migration, you can marvel at the elephants, you can ensure that just by going, that those nature reserves and parks are seeing the funding they need to protect those animals and prevent poaching. To not just meet the wildlife, to stay in comfort. The value that we have with these National Geographic Journeys in Africa, they're not inexpensive trips, but they are extremely comfortable trips when you're traveling through that region. Smaller tented lodges, it's hotel rooms, but under canvas, to overlook the watering holes and see the wildlife come and drink in the evening as you're enjoying your drink, sitting on the stool with your bistro set outside your tent, to get into the safari vehicles, to go out there and explore and learn, and ride in vehicles with the conservationists who are doing the research in the destination, and will be able to tell you more about the impacts of climate change and poaching and all these things on the wildlife tourism and its importance in the region. But not only just to see the wildlife, but to meet the people, to meet the Masai Mara, to learn about what life is like in this region, to find out, how they have also been impacted, by COVID-19 and by the consequences of this pandemic, and to engage on a cultural level and understand more about people in different destinations, and by going and doing and learning and sharing, to learn more about yourself and our way of life here in Canada. And so, with a mandate like that, and with, ideals like that in the way that we operate, I feel, adventure travel is built for kids. The ability to travel as a family, to learn as a family, to have classroom quality experiences in destinations around the world. We're very fortunate to partner with National Geographic to launch our Nat Geo Journeys family travel style. National Geographic have an entire division of that organization that works with high schools and early learning institutions in America to provide curriculum And so to be able to work with them to ensure that kids' needs are met, parents' needs are met, grandparents' needs are met when you go and travel, to ensure that we're inspiring through that journey, to have activities to allow for, you know, increased understanding around photography, storytelling, culture, history, geography, and to provide the support through having two CEOs, two local guides throughout that trip, to have the comfortable accommodation, to ensure we've got kid-friendly meal options, and to travel still in a relatively small group. Our family journeys max at 20, because family groups tend to be a little larger. But also, you know, if you've got a family of 8 travelers, you know, or if you want to have 2 families to travel together, talk to your travel advisor and you know, be able to give your kids and grandkids the opportunity to have some unique, interesting, and educational stories to wow their class with when they go back to school in the new year of 2021 and 2022. It's so exciting to be able to you know, have the opportunity for kids to travel in this way, to learn about the different cultures around them. And so with our family journeys, kids as young as 8 can travel. If you're doing a private group and talking to a travel agent, we can reduce that age a little bit. But ultimately, these trips have been set up for kids from 8 to 18 to go and travel with parents and grandparents to destinations all over the world, many of which I've touched on already. To travel to Morocco as a kid and to see the camels and experience the desert and the heat, to go to Japan and learn about sumo wrestling, to visit Costa Rica and do tree planting and learn about how the trees that you're planting are offsetting your carbon emissions from traveling through the region, to go to the hot springs at Arenal National Park and learn about the geological processes that create those hot pools. It really is fantastic that we're able to put these trips out there for families, because kids are extremely resilient. They soak up knowledge and understanding, and through National Geographic and the way that we built these trips, we're allowing parents to travel and grandparents to travel in comfort, and still provide those amazing opportunities to their younger travelers as well. So I've covered in as much detail in as short a period of time as possible the different travel styles that we have at G. I could talk about wellness and more, but I really wanted to touch on those that you know, we see the most demand for within Canada, and yeah, the ones that we could kind of go and travel to some of these destinations as well. So it's a large amount of information in a relatively short space of time. I really, really highly advise going and speaking to your local travel agent. You've heard about G Adventures, the way we want to ensure that you're having a positive impact, that the money is staying in the local community, and that starts with working with your local travel professional. It is exactly the same price to book with G Adventures directly as it is to book with your local advisor. They can have the important conversations around insurance, around government restrictions, around entry requirements, around visas and vaccines, that, you know, travel to many of these destinations has always required. And so, and they do it, you know, at no extra cost. The trip will cost the same amount. So we wouldn't be where we are without the support of our travel agency partners. And I only know G Adventures. I can only talk about G Adventures. We say, if you know, you don't travel with us, travel like us. Talk to your travel advisor about all the organizations and different ways of seeing the world where you can ensure that you're having a positive impact. Maybe build in a few days at the start in a hotel, or a few days at the end in a spa, or in a different style of accommodation, so you can make sure that you've really come back from your vacation knowing that you've been to that destination, but also relaxed and rejuvenated and ready to come back to potentially a snowy Canada, or a hot sunny Canada if you're traveling in the summer as well. So I really want to thank you all again for your time, for giving me the opportunity to talk about G Adventures and you know, why we operate as an organization, what that looks like, and the places you can go and see, and how you can go and see those places with G. And if there are any questions, I will stop talking. I will stop my share so I can look in the chat box as well. Okay, so yeah, if there are any questions, let me know. covered a lot of different ground, a lot of different travel styles. You know, obviously the current pandemic brings up questions as well. If you want to add them in the chat box, if you don't want to unmute yourself, then we can do that as well. It's totally up to you.
I think we have a quiet group, Gary.
We do. It's always the way. You have one question and then suddenly everybody's like, oh, no, I've got questions as well. But it's just that first one to get the ball rolling sometimes.
No, exactly, right? You know, what I find so unique and amazing about G Adventures is, you know, the variety of destinations and the variety of travel styles. You know, you have something for everybody, and it's experiential, it's educational. You know, you're leaving a positive impact on the destination you're visiting. You know, you guys are the leaders in responsible travel, and you know, for that, hats off. And you know, G Adventures has been a strong partner with Tier 1 Travel for quite some time. I think, Gary, we've known you since you entered the business, and you know, you're just amazing. And thank you for such a very informative, broad. You did cover a lot of topics, but it was so very interesting, and you were so knowledgeable in all of them. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. And yeah, it's tough, you know, with these the current restrictions on travel. It's, you know, it's one of those things that we all miss, having that opportunity to go and travel. And it's, you know, we really, that opportunity will be back soon. And I think it's, there's going to be silver linings in this idea that it is a privilege to go and see the world, and we are lucky to have that opportunity. And when we get that opportunity again in the future, which we will, you know, that we're, you know, it's important that we ensure that we're having that positive impact and thinking about the long-term economic, social, environmental sustainability of the way that we see the world. And that all, I mean, it's what we do in the background. The real thing is making sure that travelers have a really great time traveling to a destination. And that's what I hope I was able to show with some of the places we visited today, that, yeah, you have, there's a lot of things that go into the background, but really it's about enjoying your time off and having the opportunity to learn while you do.
And like you said, a vacation that you don't need a vacation from.
Yes. There is a question here as well. So when will we start up again? I mean, yeah, absolutely. So we're not operating at the moment because it's really difficult to run a trip when people can't get there. We have a number of departures that will be traveling in Europe. So we'll be running itineraries in September. They've been guaranteed not to be suspended. So we'll be running itineraries through September and then, you know, into October. So we'll be restarting operations then. And it's going to be dependent on the way that different destinations are able to mitigate spread, ensure that it's safe for travelers to go there. And then also, I think just the global rules that will come up around boarding flights, testing before you go, testing when you arrive, if, potentially. And so it's going to be interesting to see how and when different destinations were able to operate. But I definitely foresee things opening up over time. We just have to be patient. And, you know, Canada is, you know, is proof that, you know, we're able to mitigate the spread of this virus. And for many destinations around the world, it is critically important for the people who live there to be able to have travelers come and visit, and because the economy of tourism is so big. And so safety is our number one priority. You know, we've got to make sure that it's safe. Governments around the world are working on it, but everybody is working very hard to solve for COVID. And you know, there's going to be opportunity to travel, but I guess, again, a long answer to a short question. We're running trips in September. We will continue to run trips and destinations as soon as we're able to, and as soon as we're able to guarantee safety. And so, but we're very hopeful. I mean, yes, we need to make changes, but the way that we operate, we work with smaller hotel partners, we work with smaller restaurants. You know, you can eat outside, we can get private rooms inside. I mean, we are going to be able to operate through this pandemic and do so safely and mitigate risk and ensure that people have the chance to explore even during this very disruptive time. And we're not reinventing the wheel. We're making our groups potentially just a little bit even smaller, which is great.
That's super. That's very encouraging.
Amazing. I've taken up an hour of your evenings. I want to thank you guys again so much for for listening in. I'll send you the recording right after, and so that'll be coming to you as well if you want to just dive in and take the 5 minutes here and there, if something piqued your interest. And then absolutely, that's a big part of everybody, the shared experience of this pandemic is being kind to each other, being positive, and being appreciative of what we have and what we had, and you know, the same in the future when we have it back again. So want to thank you all for your time, and have a really wonderful evening.
You too, Gary, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks, Shelley.